Hey there, friends and family. Welcome back. It's great to be into the rhythm of the school year. It's hard to believe we're already heading into our fourth week of school, but it has been wonderful just being back in the swing of things. This week, we are taking the next step in our social emotional learning. We've been talking about self-awareness the first 3 weeks of school. We've talked about why we matter. We've talked about our passions, and last week we talked about our core values. And I think anything in life really should start with self-awareness. If we don't know ourselves, it's very difficult to know anything else in this complicated, often confusing, challenging thing we call life. So we have to have a sense of ourselves first. Then the next step is being able to live the things that we believe about ourselves, to live our passions, to live our values. So I'm going to tie in really closely with last week when we were talking about values. And this week, as we take our first step to looking at self-management, which is really about us understanding and managing our behaviors, I want us to look at the things that get in the way of us living our core values. Because we all have those things. It's so important to have a set of core values, but none of us are going to be perfect. And I want us thinking about what are the things really that get in the way of us living out those values we have every day and in every interaction we have with people and every action we take. And I want us to focus on ourselves. When I ask you what are the things that get in the way of you living your core values, I don't want a list of, well, sometimes people do this thing and I don't like that. It makes me angry. It's okay to point out behaviors that we don't particularly enjoy or tasks that we don't enjoy, but I don't think that's often very productive. And we're looking at self-management right now. We're not looking at managing others. It's pretty hard to influence other people. It's possible we can have an impact on other people and influence them. But we can't really control other people any more than we can control the weather. And we often waste a lot of time and energy trying to do that very thing. We put blame on other people or our circumstances on things outside of our control. We blame those things for unhappinesses in our life, for challenges, for the way we feel. What I want my students to be focusing on right now is let's take some ownership of how we feel. That's the start of self-management. Let's take some ownership on how we feel and our behaviors. Let's look at really our reactions to things. So you can point out stuff that bothers you, but then I want you to think about what is your reaction, because that's the thing we can actually control. That's the thing we can really impact is ourselves. So that's what I want first. What are some things that get in the way of you living out your core values? And then the second part of that is how do you feel when you perceive you're not living your core values? I think that's one of the biggest things that leads to unhappiness and depression in our lives. And I'm not talking about clinical depression or a larger mental health issue. But in general, when we're not aligned with our values, when we're not living aligned with with our passions and what we believe, we're going to be unhappy. So I want us focusing on that this week. Let's have another wonderful week. Much love.